So that's what I mean by I'm following orders. I'm not following rules.
Beautiful people, hope you're having a great day. This is Studio Visitor, my humble niece on YouTube, talking gear, philosophy, and history. Next to me is Jakob Erland, the CEO, founder, and technician of Gyraf Audio. People that don't know you, describe yourself in a nutshell.
I'm good at following orders.
Yeah.
The way I design stuff is like listening to my engineers and giving them what they want.
That's how you. But how did you get into this path of electronic engineering?
When I was a kid, I was poor, and I was in a punk band, and I was the drummer, and I hated being the drummer. No one could play their instrument, so it wasn't a matter of playing. But I so much wanted to put the keyboard player, and I wanted a Mini Moog, and I couldn't afford a Mini Moog. So I decided to build my own. And it took me a year and a half, but I succeeded.
But you still did it. Hey. Is there any piece of gear, and it doesn't have to be yours, that is the reason why your company exists?
That's a good question. That would be the Fairchild 670.
It's an amazing piece of history gear.
That's an amazing piece of history gear. But when I was the maintenance guy in the studio back in the late 80s, the one we had to be taken out of production every 3-4 months or so for a day and a half to be retubed. That unit will only run like 400 hours on a set of tubes. At that time, they were very cheap, so it wasn't a problem. But our old engineer, Tom Andersen, he got so pissed about having to work a day and a half without it that he told me, can you do a unit that will sound approximately like this, but will last forever on the same set of tubes? And I was like, no, that's a Fairchild. You can't make anything that sounds like that. And he was like, no, it should react approximately the same way. And then I met the G10. That was just 50 revisions over his theme. That was it will act approximately like the 670.
Yeah.
But it should last forever on the same set of tubes. And some of that I actually achieved. That is the original prototype from 1997, something like that.
Yeah.
Still runs on the original set of tubes.
Really?
Yeah, in our studio, and it's used every day.
Still not burned.
So not burned out yet.
No. Talking about electronic design, there was a time I was on Group DIY, and you were there too, still are. But you decided I'm going to take out the schematic of a bus compressor out of the SSL console, and I'm going to make it a DIY project. There's a story behind that, but to me, it makes you some kind of the godfather of the bus compressor, because it's an whole industry now. But tell us the story, why you did do that.
This was actually a project I did back in the early 90s when I was like the maintenance shop in a big studio. And it was like, at that point, you had a full-time job doing maintenance because we had so much analog gear, and just statistically, some of it will fail every day. So we had a full-time job fixing stuff as it goes. We had 2 studios, a Calrec studio and an SSL studio for mixers. And we needed to have similar mix compressors in the 2 studios. And we could buy the Calrec UA8000 mix compressor from Calrec, but SSL didn't have their mix compressor as a standalone for our Calrec studio. So at that point in 1992-3, Alan Smart hasn't started doing it. So you couldn't basically buy this. This compressor wasn't out in the wild at all. So I asked SSL, and they said, yeah, just use the cards from your center section and your SSL 4000 to make up like a compressor for the other. And I was like, no, yeah, can you sell me these 4 cards? The 82, EO3, and E23, and there's 4 cards in the center section of the SSL that makes up the bus compressor. And they were like, no, we don't have any of those to sell, but you just look at the schematics and make it up for yourself. It's not that hard. Which I did, and made the bus compressor for the Calrec studio.
Yeah.
And then later on, when Group DIY came into being, this was one of the designs I shared. At that point, Group DIY was me and a small group of people trying to get away from the At that time, the business was so closed and they were so secretive about anything technical because there was so much money in the business in the late 80s and early 90s that if you knew a bit about fixing a Studer, then it was such valuable information. You had your monthly wages secured that way, so nobody would tell you anything about technology, which made it hell for people like me who are maintaining a whole studio to figure out how the hell I'm going to do this. Actually, the 1176 we made also like a DIY project.
Yeah.
That was on the same. In 1993, you couldn't buy them. When we made our Studio 4 in our complex, you couldn't buy an 1176. There was a time where it wasn't in the market. You simply couldn't get it. Universal Audio stopped making it in like the 80s, and at that point, Purple Audio hasn't reissued it yet. So a time where I had to make my own to have 476s in our Studio 4. And that was what also became one of the DIY projects.
From copying actual hardware until developing your own stuff, like the Infundibulum.
The Infundibulum, yeah.
I hope I pronounced it right. Whatever. What is the process? Do you chase a circuit topology or a gap in the market, or is there anything else you start with?
I'm in the very, very lucky position of working with people that has really good ears. So, and at the same time, they have all the money in the world. But if there's a unit they desperately wish for that is not out in the market, they'll tell me, Jakob, can't you do like, I want so much like a EQ that is like in this direction, but it should sound like that one. And this control must go to 11. And I'll say, yeah, I'll try that. And I'll do something. And then they say, no, I meant this knob must go this way, and there should be more of that. And we do a lot of revisions because my background in fixing studio was also like I had very limited time to do fixes in the studio because we were block booked.
Yeah.
And downtime was so expensive. So quick fixes was my game. So we developed a technique where we simply did like a successive approximation about trying with something that is just a rough thing and then just trying to perfect it from there. So it's like a iterative process that sometimes get me somewhere where I definitely wouldn't go if I was like following the rules. So that's what I mean by I'm following orders, I'm not following rules.
But not following rules, developing hardware is a time-consuming process. Especially in comparing to plugins these days, it's not the same. But is there, in that process, is there any point you break, or you're totally happy with what's happening?
Usually I'll do it in cooperation with one of our engineers. And there's always some point where he's happy. Where he says, well, now we have it. Now I used it on this project and it did everything I wanted. So now it's there. So it's like, it's always clear when we're at the point where there's enough, and at that point we close it completely. So we don't touch anything, and then we try to reverse engineer what we have in there, and it's usually chaotic what we have in there at that point. Yeah. And for example, a good example of that is the G24 compressor, which is an optical compressor thing that I made that is very gentle. One day my mastering engineer, Emil, came in, and he was like pale. And he came into my office. His studio is just beside mine. Came into my office and he was like pale and looked wrong. So I thought maybe there's a problem. He said, the G24 is finished now. Don't touch anything. I was like, you're all right. What's wrong? He said, I just knocked off 4 dBs of a classical piano without upsetting the talent.
Oh, wow.
And these guys are hysterical about dynamics. Right? So he said, whatever we have here, keep it.
Is there any kind of signature that's specifically yours to your products?
Yes, that would be that your hand knows what to expect before you touch the button. I would really wish to do stuff that is intuitive in the way that your hands know what it's doing.
big studios are vanishing. When you develop products, are big studios and their engineers, are they still a big of influence to what you design?
Actually, what I design is to keep my local guys happy. And the designs are evolving as musical aesthetics is evolving. Everyone is moving in new directions, or there are also old people, many of them. So it's like the horizon is widening, and with that, new possibilities come up, or new needs come up. So with new needs, there'll be new designs.
Yeah. The outboard market, it is a niche, but it's kind of overwhelming with products.
Yeah.
How do you keep your head above that?
I'm a one-man company,
Yeah.
so I sell enough so I can live on it. But it's not like I'm getting rich or anything. But there's something in hardware that people are beginning to understand now. But mainly, it's not about the sound quality. It's not that you do something with hardware and you get 15% better quality than the plugin that emulates it.
Yeah.
There can be a difference in it, but it's usually in like the small details.
This era is dominated by digital audio workstations. Nothing wrong with that, but it's also dominated by AI. We're living in a wave that everything is AI, but it's not all that. But what's your take on that? Is it a threat, a tool, or something else to you?
Oh, I've been waiting for this time. Back in the days, I'm a psychologist in real life, and I did my PhD on AI back in 2007 to 12 or something like that. And I so much wished for this single thing Google came up with the attention, the transformer that you could control the attention of AI, because now you can do so much stuff. Yeah, I really find it interesting. But for music, I don't know, because you can do a lot of stuff that is correct. You can do like Suno. I love playing with that. They can do all sorts of genres that are middle of the road genres. If you can define a genre, it can do it. So it can do the simple pop music. It's fantastic for doing like jingles for commercials. It's really fantastic for that. And for replacing every mediocre musician, yes. But you can't replace the people who want to say something, who has something at heart.
What can we expect from you in the future?
Oh. I just came out with what is going to be the G26. I just got that signed off on Friday, so I actually brought it here. It's in my rack, which is the G23 we made for many years, but with a dynamic addition. So we have a tilt EQ that can be controlled dynamically, and a mid-range that can be controlled dynamically. Wow. Just a bit, not much, just a bit.
No, but it's okay. It's all about the
completely transparent, yeah. But in the future, what can we expect?
More outboard?
Definitely. And maybe I'll go into cooperating with someone doing plugins and trying to do a controller for plugins, because that is, if I'm right about it, there's so much in the motorical interface, then something can be done.
Last question. Is there anything you like to say, a message you like to share with the viewers?
No, have fun. That's the most important part of it. So, and whatever makes your blood boil, go for it.
This is the end of this video. If you like this video, don't forget a thumbs up, drop a comment, or subscribe.
That's a nice channel.
Thank you so much. I'll see you up in the next one. Until we meet again. Really, Jakob, thank you so much.
Yeah.